Alright, Halo Infinite, guys. The last game in a 3-part takeover from 343 Studios. I can't tell you how long I've been a Halo fan because I've basically been a Halo fan since I can remember. But I think Halo Infinite will most likely suck, at least on a story level. Since 343 took over the intellectual property, they've faced one main challenge: how to broaden the gaming community without losing its diehard fans, its identity. While looking at the franchise, I couldn't help but compare it to Star Wars because I believe both of these franchises suffer from the same problem. Both franchises lack a creative leadership. There are too many people trying to put their own little bit into each prospective franchise. What this leads to is a bunch of nonsense being interjected that doesn't really make any sense. I'll go through it in Halo 4, Halo 5, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and Return of Skywalker. All 4 of those entries into their respective franchises lack vision. They don't know which direction they're going, and that leaves nowhere for the final piece to be placed because there is nothing set up correctly. So they want to keep long-term fans by shoving nostalgia down our throats, but they lack the creative vision to actually create and push the story forward. They use decisions fueled by profit, not good storytelling. It seems to have taken a backseat. Most of these new games, Halo 5, relied very heavily on the spectacle. I mean, the opening cutscene alone is awesome, but there's no substance behind it. My point being, Star Wars did the exact same thing. Visually, The Force Awakens, The Jedi Return, visual masterpieces. But when you get down to it, completely boring. For example, Halo Combat Evolved was based on a novel futuristic war between the Covenant and the human race. It didn't try to have character development or overly lengthy explanations on the importance of the situation because they didn't need it. The first time I played Halo, I understood the significance of the Covenant threat through the tone and pace of the narrative. One minute you're floating in space, the next you're up to your eyeballs in aliens. Halo CE focused on a fast-paced narrative where the characters like Keyes, Johnson, and Cortana mainly served the plot as points of contention, meaning they didn't have a whole lot of character other than to tell you what's going on. But that's because the narrative is plot-based, and you don't need these deep characters. Yet they still manage to have a weight because of their actions. Their actions interact with the narrative and have compelling resolution to them. For instance, Keyes crashes the Pillar of Autumn into the first Halo ring. He isn't supposed to do that, but he does it because he is who he is. We don't need an explanation of who Keyes is. We get who he is from what he does. Johnson, what can you say about Johnson? He is the comedic levity to the whole situation. His lines are some of my absolute favorite in the entire series. And Cortana, mainly there to give us plot points and to force the narrative along. She is not a key character, but she doesn't need to be. Again, the story is a fast-paced action narrative. It doesn't try to be something it's not. Now, juxtaposed to Halo 4, the search for more money, it's just Halo 4. It's a soft reboot of CE. But it tries to interject a new flair by exploring the Master Chief as a character. On the surface, it sounds like a good idea, and it could have been, but they missed the mark. We are told how the Master Chief feels and what he should be thinking through lengthy cutscenes instead of his actions, i.e., the cutscene between the librarian or the cutscene with Cortana at the end. He doesn't have action-based narrative. They don't have an action-based narrative, which allows the story to fall flat. The Didact, an entirely new enemy that threatens to wipe out humanity. Where have we heard that one before, huh? It feels artificial. Like they had to think of something new that felt like the Covenant, but wasn't. Why did they do this? Well, to keep us invested and to sell us another game. Star Wars does the same thing in The Force Awakens. A soft reboot of A New Hope, which is a complete dumpster fire. Kylo Ren wears a mask not because he needs it, but to give us a visual cue that he's the new Darth Vader. Except he's sexy this time. In fact, all the characters are sexy. We need a bigger Death Star too, so we can spend time explaining on how scary the New Order actually is. The threat is manufactured. And it feels, and it will come back to, the threat is manufactured, and it will come back to haunt us in later movies. The story is the exact same, and all the characters are designed for maximum franchisability. Why did they do this? To sell us another movie. Both entries in the two franchises fail to improve the quality of the story. They just give us more story, more of the same, and the mistakes they make are Both entries in the two franchises fail to improve the quality of the story. They just give us more story, more of the same, and the mistakes they make are forgivable, at least to a point. It sets us up for the following installments. It sets up the following installments on the wrong foot, though. This brings me to Halo 5, a nonsensical mess of a story. Unsure of where to go and lacking interest in the Forerunner narrative, they choose to subvert Master Chief's hero narrative by turning him into a rogue. They change the gameplay to a squad format to increase player likability, and now Locke and his team create 6 useless characters whose only purpose is to push the narrative forward. Go get this, we need to do that. No choices, no agency. They just go from point to point. Meanwhile, the Forerunner narrative, now led by Cortana, has almost no relevance on the story. It's like she's out there, we need to go find her for some reason. Maybe because Master Chief is somehow connected to her, but it's pretty thin. Very thin. Anyway, it's very similar to Star Wars 8, a Star Wars story. Oh shit. I mean, The Last Jedi. They try to subvert the narrative by having Rey's heritage a non-factor. Luke is a washed-up old man that won't change, and Kylo kills the main bad guy halfway through. Let the past die. Wow. They take a relatively good idea and throw it away. They threw away the minor major villain structure that every single Star Wars has had before, only to go back to the original Star Wars with a Hoth homage battle. I don't know what you call it, but we got our fan service, and that's what we need, so give them more money. You see, both franchises are caught between ideas. They're searching for money, and they're putting spectacle above the story. Actual storytelling is not the same as spectacle. So now we're here, at the end of a trilogy that was built on a shaky, inconsistent ideas, with multiple creatives running in and out of their plots, with multiple creatives altering the plots. Halo Infinite is facing a monumental obstacle, much like the Rise of Skywalker, which we all know was a piece of garbage. I don't know if Halo Infinite will suck, but it's got its work cut out for it. It may come out with some revolutionary gameplay or something that changes the entire franchise, but I doubt it. The thing is this game really doesn't have a shot, in my opinion. Well, anyway, that's it for me.